Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome back to the series of learning algebra. In our previous video, we learned the concept of exponents. If you haven't watched that video, press on the I button or check out the description of this video to get the link and watch that video so that you can understand our today's topic, that is laws of exponents. As we know, everything in the universe is following some kind of rule or law, and that gives the clarity and makes it smooth to perform the task. Similarly, in mathematics, we have some rules to follow, and these rules are very important, so if we break any of it, we can't get the accurate results. Today we are going to discuss the laws of exponents, so let's get going. The first rule is zero power rule. In this rule, we have a variable and which is having the power 0. Let's say x raised to the power 0 is equals to 1. According to this rule, whenever the power of any term becomes 0, the value of that term becomes 1. For example, 2 raised to the power 0 would be equals to 1. This is because any number to the 0 power is just the product of no numbers at all. Second rule is one power rule. According to this rule, whenever the power of any term becomes 1, the value of that term will bounce back to itself. For example, 2 raised to the power 1 is equals to 2. So whenever there is no power written on any variable or any number, then it means the power is 1 there. Okay, so the next rule is product of power. So let's say x is having power m and it is multiplying by x which is having power n. So this kind of terms would be in equals to x raised to the power m plus n. According to this rule, whenever terms are multiplied by each other, then the power of both of the terms would be added together, taking the base only once. For example, if we have 5 square multiplied by 5 raised to the power 4, and as we have studied in our previous lecture that 5 is the base here and 2 and 4 are the indices or the powers. So according to this rule, we would add the powers while taking the base only once. So it would become 5 raised to the power 2 plus 4. As we have taken 5 only once, because we have to take the base only once as we take common, right? Then we would just simply add the powers. So it would become 2 plus 4 would be 6. So the 5 raised to the power 2 plus 4 would be equals to 5 raised to the power 6. Okay, now we are moving towards our next rule, that is quotient of powers rule. According to this rule, whenever two terms are divided, then the power of denominator would be subtracted from the power of numerator while taking the base only once. So I hope you know what is the numerator. Numerator is the upper part of any fraction, and the denominator is the lower part of any fraction. So here the numerator is x raised to the power m and the denominator is x raised to the power n, and according to this rule we just subtracted the powers. Okay, moving to the example, 5 square divided by 5 raised to the power 4. So we are going to take the base only once, so we are going to write only once the 5. Okay, so 5 raised to the power 2 minus 4, we just subtracted the power of the denominator from the numerator. Okay, so it would become 2 minus 4 would be become minus 2, so the it would be equals to 5 raised to the power minus 2. Okay, so the next rule is power of power rule. In this rule, we would learn that if we have a variable and we have a power over it and another power is also over it, so basically we have more than one powers or more than two powers. Okay, so let's say we have x raised to the power m, and over this term we have the power n, so the whole term would be equals to x raised to the power m n. According to this rule, whenever one variable is having two or more than two powers, then the powers would be multiplied with each other. So let's take an example. If we have the base 5 and having the power 2, and over it is also having the power 4, and it is also having the power 6, so basically we are going to just multiply the powers with each other. So it would be 5 raised to the power 2 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 6, and that would be equals to 48. As we know, 2 into 4 would be 8, and 8 into 6 would be 48. So it is equals to 5 raised to the power 48. Okay, so the next rule is power of product rule. In this rule, we are having two different variables, okay, that we know as unlike terms, right? So we have two different variables, and over them we have the same power, okay, a single power is over them, whereas the variables are multiplying by each other, okay. So this kind of term or expression would be equal to the variable would be separated and the power would also be separated, but the operator would be same. The operator is multiply, so it would be multiplied, but the power would be separated on both of them. So it would be x raised to the power m multiplied by y raised to the power n m. Okay, according to this rule, whenever two or more than two unlike terms are multiplied by each other having the same power, then the power of both of the terms would be separated on each of the terms. For example, if we have 5 into 6 raised to the power 2, so we would just separate the power on both of the terms. So it would become 5 square multiplied by 6 square, and as we know that the power represents how many times a number is multiplying by itself, so we would multiply 5 into 5 and 6 into 6, so it would become 5 multiplied by 5 into 6 into 6, so it would be 5 into 5 would be 25 into 6 multiplied by 6. Okay, so 25 into 6 would be 150 into 6 would be 900. Okay, next is power of quotient rule. In this rule, we have two different variables as the previous example, two unlike terms having the same power, but the terms are dividing by each other. So x divided by y and whole having the power m, so it would be equals to x raised to the power m divided by y raised to the power m. According to this rule, whenever two or more than two unlike terms are divided by each other having the same power, then the power would be separated on each term. For example, 5 into 5 divided by 6 whole power 2, so it would be separated on both of the terms, numerator and denominator. So it would be 5 square divided by 6 square, so it would be 5 into 5 divided by 6 into 6, so 5 into 5 would be 25 and 6 into 6 would be 36, so it would become 25 divided by 36. Okay, so the next rule is negative exponent rule. In this rule, we have a variable having the negative power. Okay, so any negative power, okay, we can have any negative power. So it would be equals to the reciprocal of the term, so it would become 1 divided by the variable whatever or the term it is having, and whole is having the positive of that power. So as we know that 1 raised to the any power always equals to 1, so 1 raised to the power n would also be equals to 1. So let's take an example of this so it would be more clear to you. 5 raised to the power minus 2. Okay, then we would simply apply this rule, so it would become 1 divided by 5 square, right? Then as we have understood that the power would become positive as we have taken the reciprocal, so 1 square divided by 5 square, so it would be 1 square, as we know that 1 square is equals to 1, and we know that how many times whatever times we multiplied by 1 1 raised to any power equals to 1, so it would become 1 divided by 5 square, it would become 5 into 5, so it would be 25. Okay, so the last rule is fractional powers. So in this rule we have a variable, and the power is having a fraction. Okay, so according to this rule, whenever a term is having a fractional power, then the power's numerator would remain with the term, whereas the denominator of the power would be outside with the root. For example, 5 raised to the power 2 upon 3. So it would become, as we have understood that the upper part is the numerator. Okay, so the upper part is 2, so 2 is the numerator over here, and 3 is the denominator. So according to this rule, we are going to keep the numerator with the base, and taking the denominator outside of the root. Okay, so here it would become cube root of 5 square. Okay, note that the denominator is used to identify the nature of root. Okay. Thank you for watching. If you face any difficulty in any concept, let me know in the comment section. For more such videos, subscribe to my channel MW Creations and press the bell icon so that you can get the notifications of my upcoming videos. Keep learning. Assalamu alaikum.